Hello, Wellness Warriors. Welcome to Mind Blowing Health and Wellness with Violet, Pat Chat Edition. I'm Violet.
And I'm Pat.
So, we bring you these videos because there's information out there that's sometimes inaccurate that we try to correct. And sometimes we find good articles that really help us to share the information. What do we have today, Patrick?
What do we have? Today, we're not talking keto. We're not talking
Oh,
low carb. Here are 12 healthy diet swaps to make. So I was like, oh, let's take those 12 swaps and see
see?
like if we can make it for like if they make sense in a
For a
keto
keto.
lifestyle.
Okay.
And if maybe they're not, like why and what we should do instead.
Okay.
So, and it's a chef actually that I think it's a chef that made this article. So we're not talking registered dietitian. We're not talking like so it's a chef. So the first hint that the chef gives is to add water to oil for salad dressing. So basically to make it a little bit less fat, less fatty. So you
Well,
put your spices and then you add a little bit of oil to your a little bit of water to your salad dressing. Yeah.
okay. Well, that one
So
doesn't work for us
for us, yeah, of course, that
because,
one,
like, obviously, what he's trying to do is decrease the fat in the
yeah,
salad
decrease the
dressing.
calorie amount. Yeah,
And okay, the calorie amount, whatever. But like,
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, if I want water, I'll drink it.
yeah. And what I would say also, well, like for example, if like some you viewers are not doing keto and you're doing low fat or low carb, just be careful. Like this hint is still better than choosing like a low
Oh,
fat dressing because
yeah,
usually the low fat dressings are
have
full of
sugar.
sugar.
Yeah.
So
So if you're
like,
doing, so basically, if you're doing standard
mm,
American diet and you want to try to make yourself less fat, this is a good trick because it's true. First of all, you're
mm,
making it at home, so
yeah,
great. But then second of all, that yeah, instead of adding some kind of sugar to it,
yeah, go.
instead of the fat, you're just
But like even like for us, like we do ourselves like gigantic salad. We do put like one tablespoon and a half of Caesar dressing, which is
Mhm.
not like super bad, like
Well,
in any
considering that we're
case.
eating enough salad
So
for 5 people.
yeah, that's true.
So no, it's not super bad at all.
Okay, another hint, like put half the sugar in your coffee. So like lower your sugar content in your coffee.
I
Like
would
it's
put zero the sugar in my coffee,
yeah,
but okay,
totally.
yes, I agree with that
But
one. Put less
but
sugar. I can go with there.
But you can imagine, like sometimes I do at work, like at the coffee shop, like downstairs, people put like those little packet of sugars, like it's 5 or 6 per like a big size coffee, but still it's maybe a 12-ounce coffee, 12 ounces coffee.
And isn't each
I
one of those little
read,
packets a teaspoon? So five or six of
yeah,
them.
yeah, yeah.
That's
It's
six
like
teaspoons.
crazy. So
Huh?
so already by lowering, but for sure, like when I was addicted to sugar before, I was putting like maybe one per coffee, and even
Okay.
that
One is
one I
good.
did. Yeah, one is good. I did like it. Took me a bit, like took me a while to get used to coffee with only cream, but like right now I'm perfectly fine with it, and I couldn't even imagine like even people that had stevia to their coffee. I'm not sure I would like it.
No, it's
So.
it's it's, it's definitely a different taste when you're doing that.
Hmm.
But like again, so far what I like is that
Hmm.
he's just saying take some of the sugar out, so that's
Yeah,
fine.
that's fine. Yeah.
That's a good.
Okay, another one more targeted toward like lowering your fat intake, or maybe your bad fat intakes. Switch to non-stick pans. So whenever you're frying your stuff, use non-stick pans instead of putting like a ton of oil and fat, and especially not the good one, because most people like do add the vegetable oils and
I'm trying to think about all the different things that I fry. So for example, if I was going to fry some ground beef or pork, putting it in a non-stick pan is usually what I do
yeah,
because you
you
don't
don't
need to
need.
add any
Mm,
oil to that because there's already oil in it.
hmm.
If I was gonna fry me like
An egg.
an egg or something, I probably
Yeah,
would
a
still
little
put
bit
the
of.
oil. Well, I would actually probably make bacon with that, so then I get
Mm,
oil from the bacon. But I do think that I would add the oil just because it's easier to cook.
hmm.
But like, I don't think that you need to be dripping in oil either. Remember that keto is not high fat; it's moderate fat.
Yeah.
So I do agree with this
So.
one that there's probably a lot of things that people add fat to that you really don't need to add fat to.
Mm,
There's enough in it, like an egg. There's enough
hmm.
fat in an egg that you don't need to
Yeah.
add fat to it. Like
So.
even if you boil it, that there's enough oil in an egg.
Yeah. So that hint is good for keto people if you're in your losing phase. Like if
Yeah,
you don't have to add any oil like to
don't.
your stuff,
Yeah.
don't. Just use the non-stick and then like do your fat number with the low carb,
And what
and
I would
that's
also
good.
add to that is that if you cook something in a nonstick and then you feel hungry in between, that's an indication that maybe it's too little fat for your day. So then you would go back to adding a little bit of oil, but you don't need to add that much. right? A small amount of oil goes a long way in terms of satiation. I think it's the other thing that people don't realize, like, they're putting butter on everything and oil and everything and MCT, and you don't really need to do that. Like a little bit of oil goes a long way.
Yeah. So many people trying to lose weight turn to zero fat plain yogurt that, in addition to being low in flavor, is usually high in chemicals to get it to the 0% fat status. So especially, plain. So we already talked about that. Plain yogurt. If you like yogurt, plain yogurt is the way to go. I think whether you're doing
Most people that
a
like
healthy.
yogurt don't like plain
No,
yogurt,
I
though,
know,
pointing
but
that out.
like, yeah,
So
sure, but
this is just my opinion. If I need to force myself to like something, it's not worth eating it. Like, that's my opinion. But for those of you who do like plain yogurt, then that's a great
Yeah.
choice, just to make that switch.
but like
Yeah.
go with for
Greek,
us
going Greek, yeah.
doing keto. Go. We already talked like go the higher fat. Like the higher fat, the better.
And I think Greek
it
yogurt
tastes
is
good.
higher fat.
Yeah. And Greek yogurt, no, sorry, no. Greek yogurt usually is lower. The highest fat you're gonna have. I think I found one once that was like 5%.
Oh, okay.
But Greek yogurt, more protein, like a little bit less fat. I do prefer the 10% fat than the Greek yogurt.
But this
But
is
carb
another.
count, they're about 5 per serving. 5 net
But here's the
carbs.
other interesting thing to think about, because basically what you're saying is that the Mediterranean is 10%. The Greek is 5%.
Yeah.
But the Greek and the Mediterranean have the same amount of protein.
No, the Greek will be a little bit higher in protein.
Okay, the Greek.
But the same carb count.
And
same
they have the
low
same
carb,
count.
low-ish carb count. Yeah. So
Well,
it's actually
low-ish, because you're saying it's 5.
But then again, like if you need the protein, maybe go with the Greek. But like you don't want to overdo your protein either. So I don't know. Like
See,
I think it's a question of taste,
like,
maybe.
but it's also a question of in the moment what I'm doing, and understanding, like, so in the moment, that's 5 grams of carbs in one shot, in a small, like, amount of, because it's like, yogurt is usually
175 grams.
right.
Yeah.
So it's a large amount of carbs in the one shot that has also a good amount of fat in it. So whether you're eating a big meal that's high fat, high carb, or whether you're doing a teeny meal that's high fat, high carb, you still have to understand that you've just stepped into standard American diet world there. So I would be careful with those things, because the possibility that it pushes you to store is still there. But again, I'm not. You're not talking about how much fiber is. Is there any fiber in yogurt?
Fiber? No, not really.
I'm trying to think like what else could be in there to help you with that situation. If it's just sugar and fat, that would make me nervous. But I mean, again, are you treating this like a treat? You're having it once in a while, then it's not a big deal, right? If I get pushed once in a while, it's not a big deal. If you're doing this daily, I probably. Do you anybody remember that episode where Elaine was eating the yogurt that was supposed to be low fat and she was gaining weight? Does anyone remember that episode of Seinfeld? But I feel like that would be one of those situations where you're going to start eating this and all of a sudden realize that your weight's going up and you're not going to know why, because it's low carb. It's low carb, but it's still high carb when you consider how big the container is and how much fat is in there. That's still high carb.
Yeah, but like
High fat.
But again, like remember, if it's not plain yogurt, it's automatically high sugar, high carb. Like it's 17, 18, 19. Like so I've seen, especially like the fruits in the bottom and stuff like that. Even your I think your vanilla like yogurt is like 17, 18 grams of sugar. So be careful. With the
The
yogurt.
thing that I think I try to help people to understand is that the type of food you eat matters. And we can't compare eating salad, where I'm going to have a lot of carbs in my salad, but I have a lot of fiber that's combating that, like natural, right? It's not that's extraneous carbs that the scientists are putting in there so they can lie to you and say it's no, this is really, the food has its own fiber with it that helps our body to process it better. So you need to be careful that, yes, if I eat salad beside my meat, so there's carbs and there's fat, that affects my body differently than if I eat a yogurt that has sugar beside fat. There's no fiber in there to help me out. That's why I was asking, is there any fiber in it? No. There's no fiber in there to help me out, right? Like naturally occurring fiber. So that's a recipe for gain weight if you do that often. So I'm just saying that out loud because I think sometimes we're so focused on the number that we don't remember that it's not just the number, it's what are you eating, right? Because if I let myself eat 5 grams of carbs from a cookie every day and I'm still eating high fat, guess what's going to happen? Right? Yeah. That's processed sugar.
Yeah, totally.
It's going to have an effect.
Okay. Okay, next healthy hint: bone broth instead of bouillon cube or stock cube.
Yeah, obviously.
Definitely,
Yeah.
anything that you
Anything.
make instead of processed is gonna be better. So if you're big users of those stock cubes, like, and it's not hard to make our own,
No, it really
like
isn't hard to
your
make.
bone broth.
No, it really
So
isn't hard to make. And I think the thing that's cool there, again, I like what he's telling you. He's telling you to make stuff at home,
yeah,
right? He's kind
yeah.
of encouraging you, like, give less money to the big companies and make it yourself. You're going to have cleaner ingredients. You're going to have healthier food, and it's going to taste amazing. Like that's the, and you know what? What keeps you eating healthy is that the food tastes amazing. It helps, it's not, it doesn't have to be the case, but it does help when the food tastes amazing.
The next one, use coconut water instead of sport drinks. A great alternative is pure coconut water, which is similar in structure to the liquid used to rehydrate a person when using an IV drip.
Okay.
Okay, it's a good source of potassium, which is important for rehydration. It replaces intracellular water after exercise. So, like coconut water contains electrolytes, magnesium, sodium, calcium, phosphorus.
Well, what I
So,
love about that is that the potassium, which we are always trying to get enough potassium because the sodium potassium pump, right? Every cell of our body needs potassium. So it's important for us to have other sources. I don't know what the carb content is for coconut water, like a cup of coconut water, but I don't think it's horrible. So
I'm gonna check it out. That's for
but
sure.
but the thing that I would suggest is, well, it depends. If you're eating a healthy diet, and so basically if you're eating, first of all, a good amount of varied meats, so nose to tail, you don't need to do that because you're getting your potassium from the
Yeah.
animal. If you're eating a varied amount of veg, you're probably getting a good amount of potassium. You don't have to do that. So I don't know if I would
No, but
trade the
like, yeah.
carbs in the coconut
But
water
after a
for
workout, maybe like in the case
after a
where maybe
workout.
you
You need
need
water.
rehydration after a workout.
I,
Yeah,
I would
sure.
honestly, I
Yeah,
always encourage people water.
yeah.
The thing that you need to
That's
keep
what I
in
do.
mind, and this is where people make a mistake, is that you do not need carbs to rehydrate yourself. You need water.
Yeah.
You do not need electrolytes to rehydrate yourself. You need water. So this is where I'm like kind of questioning what he's saying. I think that if you want to improve those minerals, and let's say you know that you're not getting enough of those minerals, then I would go for the coconut water, because for sure if I can get my minerals in that and I'm willing to trade the carbs for the minerals, that's cool.
Okay. You
And
want to
I'm
know numbers?
yes.
I've I've like typed the numbers. 1 cup of coconut water would be 9 total carbs minus 2.6 grams of fiber.
So let's just
So
call it 7.
like yeah, 766 point
Okay.
something. Yeah.
So the potassium now, how much is it?
But that 600 milligrams.
Okay. So just to keep it in perspective, how
Yeah.
many grams of potassium do you need
Yeah, 3,000.
daily? 3,000. So is this a good source? Not really. You get more from avocado.
Yeah.
My point being though, and you're trading 7 grams of
7
carbs
grams.
for like, so to me, again, this is where
That's a
we
bit
all
high.
have to be conscious of what we're trying to accomplish. On a ketogenic lifestyle, would I make that trade? No, because that's less, just a little bit under, that's like maybe 40% of my day. I wouldn't make that trade. However, if you're not doing ketogenic lifestyle, maybe you're doing low carb, that's a good trade to
That's
make.
definitely
If
good
you're
trade.
doing a standard American diet, that's a good trade to make. So it depends on where you are and what you're doing, right? But I would still say that I like the minerals and all the stuff that's in there, because
Yeah.
I think that's a cool, like if you're already drinking sports drinks, switching to coconut water, it's a great trade to make. If you're not drinking sports drinks, I wouldn't start drinking coconut water to get those things, because you can get them from your food.
Oh, for comparison, I was
You
just
you looked up a
curious.
sports drink?
Like the Gatorade, and for a cup, it's more like 14 grams of sugar
And it's straight 14
and straight 14. So it's
Okay.
it's 14 grams of sugar. There's
for
nothing
1
like
cup. Okay.
for 1 cup. There's no mention of
Oh,
any
what does it tell you?
minerals and stuff.
Potassium
Yeah,
and does it give you that?
potassium, yeah, sorry, 90 milligrams. So it's
So
way
for sure,
less
coconut water is a way better choice in that
yeah,
case,
for
because you're getting like half the grams of sugar, and you're getting
like
how many times? Like
Yeah, I
like
don't-
6,
Yeah.
7, like you're getting a
bunch
good
of
number of
times.
times more the
Hold on a
potassium.
second, 90 p. It was 600, so yeah, around like 6 times the potassium.
Yeah, so that's
Okay.
cool.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I think again, it's a good choice if you're not doing keto.
Yeah.
If you're doing keto, like
gotta be
no,
careful.
drink water.
Yeah.
And honestly, the thing that you have to keep in mind is if you're doing keto and you're eating appropriately and you're tracking your potassium, magnesium, calcium, if you're tracking those things anyways, you know if you need more,
Yeah.
right? And that means you should, if you know you need more, you should be eating the things that are going to help you to get more. So eating them. like
And if you can't eat,
processed.
and if you can't eat them, for some reason, like there's always those rehydrator powder that comes to zero carb that's gonna give you like the same amount
Now,
of
the one that we
potassium.
like to use
The
is
Vega
Vega
Sport,
Sports. Yeah, thank you.
Vega Sport.
The Vega Sport. That I
It's
mean,
like
as much as I drink it all the time, I don't remember the name of it, whatever. But
yeah,
the Vega Sport, which I'm not sponsored, it's
no,
just
yeah,
that's the one that we use. I find it tastes pretty good actually. It doesn't
yeah.
taste more than okay. It's a little on the sweet side for me personally, but for those of you who like sweet, you're probably gonna like it. For me, I find it kind of like whoa.
Yeah.
Sometimes I have to put extra water in it to get it down. But if you're feeling like you're not getting all your minerals, it's a good choice.
Yeah. Okay, let's go with the next swap. That's also interesting. Lentil or chickpea pasta instead of white pasta. So
Well, for
from a
us,
health standpoint, yes, but
it's
for us,
yeah, so it's
yeah,
still a
no
very
brainers.
carby pasta.
Yeah,
But you know
totally.
what? Like going for a lentil or a chickpea, you're probably gonna get. I'm not sure what you're gonna get.
But you're gonna get the fiber. You're gonna get a chickpea or lentil pasta is free of gluten and a great source of fiber.
The free of
So
gluten is important.
yeah,
There's a lot of people that are allergic to gluten, and gluten is a protein that we actually can't metabolize anyway. So,
so
that okay, now I understand why that's a better choice because it's going to decrease the amount of inflammation that you're going to live. Because when we can't metabolize something, it causes inflammation. So I'm for sure going to say yes to that
yeah.
one if you do
And
eat pasta.
and he's adding something interesting like vegetable feeds. Okay, so you if you don't like want to do the lentil or like if you're on a keto, like just grab your zucchinis and a spiralizer and do your pasta with that. Like that's pretty. I haven't had that in a long time actually. I might do that one this week.
Yeah, so the
uh,
zucchini noodle thing, again, it's a good alternative if you're looking to have some pasta. I really feel like that was something that I did at the very beginning of my journey. Now I'm past it. I don't really
yeah,
need to have pasta.
no,
So
it's true.
I'm
It's
I'm
true.
cool. If there's anything that I do miss that I would probably make rather than have spaghetti, I probably would have the lasagna if I was going to do that. So I probably would use my zucchini. I would make strips instead of making
Yeah.
spirals and do
Lasagna.
lasagna,
Okay, another swap.
which
Oh,
which is a
sorry.
good one. I haven't had that in
Yeah.
a long time either.
Yeah. Okay, another one that's interesting. Like swap the regular rice for the vegetable rice. So actually,
Like
that chef
cauliflower
is
rice.
cauliflower rice.
If you have other
He's talking
examples,
about like like yeah, it doesn't have to be cauliflower either. You can choose
broccoli.
broccoli, beets, zucchini, sweet potatoes. But like keep in mind those are ins for a low carb lifestyle, not because of
But you know
carrots,
what?
broccoli, beets, zucchini, potatoes. Yeah,
So what I would
but
also say there, I
cauliflower
like
for
that.
us.
And actually that's something that I was doing when I was first started. Like I would take my vegetables and I
Oh
would
yeah,
pass them through my food processor so that they were really teeny pieces and then
true.
kind of fry them and make kind of like a stir fry with them. And it felt like I was eating rice. Again, not something that I
Yeah.
need to do anymore because I'm
No,
kind
no.
of past
But
it.
you were into that like for
Yeah,
a
but
while
at the very
before, yeah,
beginning, well,
before
again, the thing that you
all
have
the
to keep in mind
vegetables.
is that it's so hard to think about not like what am I putting on the side?
Yeah,
Like at the beginning, it's really hard to think about I grew up my entire life until 46 and a half
with side
eating
dish,
rice,
rice. Yeah,
right? Like rice was a staple. Like, so, even though at some point I did get bored of it, it still was the thing that when I think about making a plate, like it's either rice or pasta, right? Like those were the two side dishes. So figuring out a pasta and figuring out a rice at the beginning was really important for me, but now I'm past it.
totally.
I couldn't care less.
Okay,
I can't remember the last time I made it.
he recommends to completely ditch the dairies. About 65% of the human population is intolerant to lactose, casein in varying degrees after infancy.
Okay.
So try unsweetened almond, cashew, or coconut milk. And be sure, like for sure, to read the labels if you're buying ready made. Sometimes
So
like they
here's
add
what I will
sweet.
say on that one.
So yeah,
So first of all, please, please, please do not give children soy milk. Apparently, it's really, really dangerous for
and
their
almond too,
kidneys.
right?
And almond milk, apparently, really, really dangerous for us. Dangerous in different, like oxalates for the kidneys in almonds and soy. I'm not really sure. I remember what the reason was, but those are two types of milk that especially children shouldn't have. Adults shouldn't have it either. But adults don't tend to drink milk as much as kids do,
Yeah.
right? So when we're trying to be healthier, we tend to do these other alternatives. And honestly, this is a case where cow's milk is better. But if you're going to ditch milk altogether, I would agree with that. I think a lot of people have lactose issues. However, I will say that being a person who used to have lactose issues, my lactose issues kind of went away ish. So ish. well before I started to do keto. Somehow I got my body regulated. I think so. Here's what I'm not sure about. Was it just that because I had it so infrequently that somehow when I did have it, it didn't hit me as hard? Possibility one. Or did my body get used to it? Possibility two. I'm not sure which one it was. What I do know is that today, eating a ketogenic lifestyle, I'm able to do dairy. So I can have cheese and I can have cream. So every person has to, again, we're all different, right? Everybody has to make their own decisions about if they're going to do that or not. I have cream regularly, actually, and I have cheese regularly. And at this moment, I don't see an effect. Doesn't necessarily mean there isn't one happening. I'm fully aware of that. There could be something happening under the radar that I'm not aware of. But the violent reactions that I used to have to dairy, I don't have anymore.
Yeah. Okay. Another swap that we actually very knowing about and like it, coconut oil instead of vegetable oil.
Oh my God, yes.
So
Everybody.
totally, yeah, everybody.
Everybody. Vegetable
So
oil is not even a real thing because you don't get vegetable oil from
yeah.
vegetables. It's a chemical concoction, and the way that they make it is toxic to begin with. Vegetable oil smells disgusting if you were to have it like straight before they clean it with all kinds of bleach and stuff. I don't understand how this is legal to sell to people,
Yeah.
much less to animals even. Like, I don't understand how it's legal, but yet they sell this for us to eat.
Yeah.
And when you find out how it's made, it's kind of like, whoa. The same way that when you learn how marshmallows are made, it's kind of like, whoa.
Yeah. So vegetable oils, which in parentheses, which contain no vegetables, actually, are generally highly processed. They're often made from GMOs, contain high levels of omega-6 fatty acids linked to cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, asthma, arthritis. So coconut oil is a special kind of saturated fat that contain medium-chain triglycerides, which are easily absorbed into the small intestine and less likely to be stored in fatty tissue. So yeah, no
I mean, we
vegetable
all
oil
know
is,
if you're
yeah.
doing keto that medium chain triglycerides, which you get from coconut oil, which you also get straight from coconut oil, by the way. You don't have to buy MCT oil; you get it straight from coconut oil. So yeah, it's easily processed and less likely to be stored if you don't eat excessive carbs.
Okay, next one. Grain flours are not your friend. I love that. I love that one. Like, so there's so many alternatives, including almond meal, coconut flour, cassava flour, arrowroot, tapioca starch. Eve experimented with all of them, make cookies, cakes, and like there's no really reason to use grain flours.
I do think
So
that the only reason to use grain flours is that they're easier to cook with, but that's
yeah,
not a
I
good
know.
reason. I think, like if you're gonna make something that's healthy, you're probably going to use a alternative to grain flour. But then the other thing is just like, do you really still need to be making
Yeah,
pancakes and cookies? And
yeah.
so again, it depends on what kind of lifestyle you're living. If you're living a keto lifestyle, probably not. If you're living low carb, you're probably still making those things. So these are great alternatives. And as a matter of fact, they're probably alternatives that if you're doing low carb, you haven't actually thought about. So I'm glad that he's saying
But
it.
then again, like we have kids, like they like they like to have cakes sometimes pancakes. Is it like I don't know, maybe healthier for them to instead maybe next time we do pancakes to cook them with like the alternative flour than the real like
Well, for
gluten
sure,
like
because
so
it's going to be less carb heavy, and they probably won't notice the difference.
yeah.
But the thing that I'm pointing out is that on some level, it's kind of like, are we gonna not put syrup on it for them?
Yeah.
Because you're still turning around and you're dumping syrup all over it.
Yeah.
So this is why I'm saying this is
Yeah.
more of a low carb
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
But you know what? Taking out some of the carbs is better than having all of them there. So yeah, I would definitely try
Yeah,
that.
which brings me to my next swap, or his next swap actually, natural sweeteners instead of refined sugars. In the end, it's still sugar for sugar, but like using honey or maple syrup instead of table syrup
Yeah, I mean,
e-
obviously using
and
an
unprocessed.
unprocessed, yes,
Yeah,
sugar would or syrup would be better. Again, truth be told, if we can get them to eat that pancake, well, I probably have to do it in stages. First, the pancake with the with the syrup being the same, and then
and then
change the
maybe
syrup later because I know that, like for example, if you talk about, I'm not even sure what kind of syrup we would use, but like one that has less sweetness to it, or if you put honey, like I don't think that they're gonna see it the same way.
yeah, yeah.
But you never know. It might work.
So
So
that's
I'm
also
up to
that's
try it
all.
if you're up to
Yeah.
try it. So I mean that was a
So
great
yeah,
article. I think it had a
couple
lot of things that
interesting.
does work for like low carb and keto, and a lot of good tips for people who are still doing standard American
American diet.
diet that they could at least implement a few things that might put them on a better path. You know, kind of curious to know if they tried some of those things that are more towards the like keto side, would they feel a little better and maybe want to do more things? It might be interesting, right? That was a good article. I like this. So we had a good one. We had a good one. Yay. I always want to thank my wellness warriors for coming by, watching the videos. I really do appreciate that you're here every week with me. For everybody else who's new, consider subscribing because we make these videos every week. And it's our pleasure to make these videos for you because these kind of articles are sunshine to put out there in the world. And then you have the other ones that are, but it's okay. We have to go through them all. That's what we're here to do. We're here to help you guys to better understand what's going on. We do have a Patreon account, and you can find it at Patreon/Violet Rivera. If you'd like to contribute to the production of some of these videos, feel free. It's not obligatory. I'm just letting you know. We love making these videos for you guys. Honestly, like it's just a pleasure. I want to thank everybody for watching, coming by. Maybe comment. I would love to know. Do you have a question? I would love to know if you've tried any of these tips before. So if you're new here, that's really be cool to let me know. Have you tried any of these tips? Are you thinking about becoming keto? If you're new here, share that with us. And for all my wellness warriors, which of these did you feel like was the most significant that you could say, yeah, that makes sense to me that everybody on the planet should be doing that, even if you're not keto? I want to hear like which ones you thought were like, yeah, we should be doing that. It doesn't matter what kind of diet you're doing.
Good idea.
So thanks for watching, guys. Can't wait to talk to you again next week.
See you next week.